Good afternoon. Many in this room know Jim May pretty well, and then there are those who are new to the club who may not, so hence a little bit of background on a person who cares so deeply about his community, his family, and history. It is my honor to introduce Jim, a native of York County who graduated from Dover High School and then entered York College in the fall of 1968 as it became a four-year institution, a historic event. Jim graduated in 1972 with a degree in business management, and after serving in the military, he began his career in banking at the York Bank and Trust Company, now M&T, where he served the community for over 40 years as a member of the management team in commercial banking division. On the personal side, Jim is married to Linda, a retired educator, and has 2 children and 2 grandchildren. It is of note that his children, Dan May, who's back there, and daughter Melissa May Pack, also work at M&T. Clearly, he's leaving a legacy to the community at the bank. Besides populating the bank, Jim created some of his own important history in York. While at York College, he earned 8 varsity letters, 4 in soccer, 4 in baseball. For the soccer records he still holds, he became a charter member into the York College Athletic Hall of Fame in 1989. He is also a member of Central York County Baseball Hall of Fame and the York County Sports Hall of Fame. In addition to York College, Jim is active in other community activities, organizations, including the York County Heritage Trust, the Rotary Club of York, the Farm and Natural Lands Trust, York College Spartan and Dance, and York Sports Night, just to name a few. Jim's passion for history is evidenced by his 14 years of serving on the board of the York County Heritage Trust, and we are very grateful for that service. Additionally, he loves to take unique experiential historical trips. As many in this room will recall, the trip he took to the Titanic a few years ago and shared that with us. This summer, he took a special journey to Normandy for the 70th anniversary, commemorative programs remembering D-Day. For this Veterans Day program, he will share some of that trip, his insights, and a few veteran stories as we thank and honor our veterans, especially our World War II veterans today. Jim.
Thanks, Joan. Appreciate that introduction. You had mentioned soccer. Speaking of soccer, my brother has 3 sons, and he developed some pretty good soccer players there. And 3 of them were at dinner one time not too long ago. And of course, they had to start something between 2 other brothers, me, the uncle, and my brother. And one of the nephews said, "Well, Dad or Uncle Jim, which one of you is the best soccer player?" Well, you know about siblings and rivalry. And so after a little back and forth, my mom stepped in and said, "Look, doesn't really matter who was the best." But she said, "Jimmy, I just want to say one thing. All I remember about you is your best soccer days were 30 pounds ago." So, needless to say, Mom is still in charge, and that ended that conversation. But, anyway, thanks for the opportunity to share this trip, especially on this Veterans Day week at Rotary. It certainly is an honor for me to be here and share this. My father-in-law actually landed in Normandy, and which in itself gave me added interest to undertake this. We visited maybe 7 countries, I believe, in 3 weeks, and I can't cover 18 days of where we went and what we did and what we learned and the veterans that we talked to. Of course, this was all wrapped around the special services at Normandy on D-Day, June 6th of this year, which many dignitaries obviously attended. With fewer veterans returning this year, I had planned to go to the 75th, but decided I wanted to go this year for obvious reasons. We basically followed the troops all the way from England to Normandy, France, Austria, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, Bulge, Ardennes, etc., Dachau, and on to finally ended the trip 3 weeks later at Hitler's Eagle's Nest. Our guide was an ex-British colonel by the name of Oliver Warman. I mentioned something to Carolyn ahead of time, find out from Tom if that's a relation. He's about 80 years old. He had been giving tours for about 40 years. Much of the information that I'll share today has been relayed from him, and actually came from direct conversations he's had in the last 40 years with our servicemen and all the armed forces, as well as some German officers who survived the war. In some cases, some of this stuff is surprising, or at least it is to me, about what he portrayed or what he said happened in a particular event, some of which I'll share with you. I did want to mention that what I am going to share is many times what he relayed to me. And I will share some of those stories. The begins here. We basically started in England, Southwood House, which is the location of where Eisenhower's headquarters were located for his European operations in D-Day. All the planning took place in this building. Inside, this is a particular map which is still there, large map where all the D-Day planning took place. All the ship alignments, everything was planned out for the march across the English Channel. Once we crossed the English Channel, your first stop was at Utah Beach, and I wanted to just show this particular area of Utah Beach. This cut, they call it cut in Utah Beach. We actually have a gentleman here today who actually walked through that cut on June 6th, 1944, Al Rose, who's seated here with us, and he was invited back by the French government this year for the special 70th anniversary celebration to receive some various awards, which I think some of them he has today, appropriately so. So I wanted to mention Al, your County, and this is where he started his mission that day. This is a picture of Al. It was actually in England, and he was seemed to be like a day or two ahead of me as I was trying to catch up to Al. And he was on TV and CNN International, and I saw it, didn't have my camera, so I sat and waited till the news scrolled around and suddenly took his picture. He didn't know he was on TV, but I shared this with him a few months ago after I got back. So that's a picture of Al. And that's a picture of his unit, the Engineer Special Brigade. That's also located there on Utah Beach. This is, we've heard of Dick Winters, Lieutenant/Major Dick Winters, 101 Easy Company. This was unveiled 2 years ago. It cost approximately $400,000. It's located about a mile inland, where a lot of the action took place for Easy Company. About half of the dollars raised for this monument were raised by a Lancaster County boy, 12, 13 years old, who sold bracelets, raised about $200,000 to go towards the cost associated with this monument to Dick Winters. This is one of my favorites here. If you can't tell, we have a private here, and we have a 2-star here, I believe. And I believe the 2-star is the division commander for the 101. told me I had to jump 70 years ago. You can't tell me I can't jump today. So, he said, I'm jumping. And he said, I'm going to get his children and I believe a couple grandchildren there. And he said he's jumping and he's going to jump and he's going to land in the same field he landed in 70 years ago. So, he did a tandem jump. And here he is coming in to the same field he landed in 70 years ago. Basically, as he hits the ground. Interestingly, as he walked around, he recognized some of the places he had been before. He had been back before, he not jumped before, to the best of my knowledge. But he was also seen climbing barbed wire fences. He said he wanted to show his children and grandchildren a couple spots, and he wasn't walking to where the gate opened up. He was going over that. So this is Mel, 92 years old, and certainly has a lot of spunk, probably a lot more than I have. And here he is in front of Dick Winters. I don't know if you may notice this gentleman. Damian Lewis played the part of Dick Winters in Band of Brothers series. I think he's an English actor who was there for a lot of this stuff as well. On the Pointe du Hoc, strategic location that the Allies had to capture because there were supposedly six large gun emplacements there at Pointe du Hoc, and they needed to be taken out because they could reach both Utah Beach and Omaha Beach. So special mission occurred, and what you'll see here is a lot of craters. This place was heavily bombed constantly from the air, and these craters, some of them are massive. One of the items that they asked us to do was to find a crater made from a bomb, to find a crater that was made from a naval shot. But this is one made from, and perspective is not good, but it's about 50 feet in diameter and about 10 or 12 feet deep. While this is one that's more egg-shaped, oblong, because it was created by a naval team offshore, oblong coming in on an angle made the difference. So here's some of the emplacements, what's left of them, and this is a view from the forwardmost German bunker, and the story goes something like this that was relayed to us. On the morning of June 6th, Colonel Rotary and his team came around the point here. Omaha Beach would be just on the far side of this peninsula here. And they came around here and started to land over into here when Colonel Rotary realized that he was in the wrong location. He immediately pulled back up on his landing craft and started to pitch to come down to where I'm located. Ironically, the last landing craft in that unit felt Colonel Rotary was aborting the mission, and they returned back around the point and joined the fight with the 29th Infantry Division on Omaha Beach. So he was down in platoon for whatever a landing craft will hold, and maybe we'll ask, one of Henry or some of the other guys that are here that might know, but I assume it's about platoon size that he was out. At any rate, the story goes that they went forth with the mission, climbed the embankment here. Unlike maybe the movies, we were told that there were not that many shots fired. It took the first Ranger 31 seconds to get to the top, and then everything broke loose with the firing. Of course, there were a lot of casualties on this particular mission. The fight lasted about a day and a half, and what happened was, we were also told, was that as the Germans tried to reinforce the point to protect the area, some of our tanks got through and came over the back backside and started firing upon the fight. And unfortunately, we took casualties, self-inflicted by our own team. We, of course, did prevail, all for naught, because the guns had been moved just recently. So, a sad story about what happened there. That's the story I was told, which kind of differs from what you may see in the movies, if I remember. I'm back on Omaha Beach now, and I'm probably, as I'm facing Omaha Beach, I'm probably dead center, a little bit left of Omaha Beach's center point. And the story that we were told here is we intentionally went out to the beach at low tide because we landed at low tide. And I'm about 150 yards from shore, and there's probably another 200 to 250 yards of beach behind me. So if you imagine yourself landing in a craft, that's about how far you had to go just till you got to the beach. And of course, somebody is manning these positions up here. There are actually several positions up here, bunker positions. Some of them are evident, some of them are not. And by the way, on this beach, it's 3.5 miles long, and there are 260 approximately bunker machine gun locations. Now, you can do the math if you want to take 3.5 times 5,280 divided by 260, but it's not pleasant how much overlapping fire the troops had to endure. But a couple stories told here were Colonel Warman said that he was up on top here one time about 30 years ago on the June 6th anniversary, and two people midway up the bank visibly weeping for some time, two guys. And he went down to them and asked them, and they were German, and he said that it's their first time back, and those two were the only one that remained out of his company, the Germans, and that they were sorry that they were told to and followed the man that they followed in World War II. We all know who he's talking about. The other story I would mention while on this location was there was a gentleman on another bus that was here, and this was about the spot he had landed, and he looked around and he said, yeah, this is about it. I think this is it. His landing craft was taking fire as the front went down. He was told to bail over the sides. He bailed over the sides. He was told he'd only have to be in knee-deep, waist-deep water. It was about 10 feet. He said he couldn't swim. He had his backpack on and his rifle, both of which he had to let go, and he bobbed his way onto the beach until he got that he was, within his height and that he could breathe, and kept pressing forward. And miraculously, he did make it to the bank with nothing to participate in the fight. He said as the tide started coming in later in the day, he got a rifle off of a body that washed in, and it was the rifle of his best friend. No greater love than the man who laid down his life for another. So, moving on, I'm still on Omaha Beach. I'm on the total left flank of Omaha Beach. Up on top, we were told to go find the German Command Center. We were given a map. We were told to go find the German Command Center for the left flank of Omaha Beach. So here we are. And you can obviously see the trench and the trees here and the bunker as we found it. However, we all flunked the test. This is not it. Colonel Warman came to us and said, why are you here? He said, this is not the command center, the bunker. If it was, you should be looking at high ground. And he said, it would not be here. This is a higher point, this little grove of trees. He said the command center is not maintained. Few people know where it is, but I had permission to tramp through this farmer's field to go to it. So he told us to move up to this bunker. And he said, when you find the trench, he said, just follow the trench, it'll take you to the bunker. And that's my wife ahead of me here. She found the trench and we're proceeding into the bunker. And the bunker's still in decent condition. Very dark, damp, gloomy, of course. But other than that, it's still fairly well intact. And I just had a couple pictures here. And we're actually on the other side of the bunker. But as you exit, you will see why the bunker was located where it was located. That is all 3.5 miles of Omaha Beach from the left flank of the German Army. The battle that took place, the mission was important to take this out on June 6th. And this road was not a road at that time. It was only like a cow path. Our soldiers came up this road and proceeded to take out this particular bunker. That was their mission. After they got there, they went back down to the engineers and said, hey, look, this is not on the plan, but I think we could make a road here, and I think it's another place that we can offload men and supplies. So they got a dozer or two up there and made a road, the engineers, so we could offload more troops. The monument here tells you a little bit about the battle that took place. However, he stopped us right away and said, you can go ahead and read the sign. But he said, I'll tell you right now, that's not what happened. I'm leery to tell you the story of what really happened, but I'll say if you want to know, see me sometime, and I will tell you what really happened there as he met with several of our GIs 20, 30 years ago that took part in this mission, and they said it's not what happened here. So see me sometime, I'll tell you. Moving on, I'm in Bastogne now, Battle Gulch. I'm at the forward or defensive position of the 101 Easy Company, and we had another field exercise here to learn more about what the troops endured at Bastogne. And what we were told was to locate the forward foxhole positions of Easy Company as they were here for approximately a month to 5 weeks, I believe, in late December and early January. So we were off into the forest and told to locate the forward positions and certain foxholes we were looking for. In that, I would mention that for anybody that has ever watched the Band of Brothers, I think it's segment 7, where we were held up in the woods here awaiting orders to take the town of Foyle, which was located here a mile or two away. And after several days and weeks, Winters finally got permission to go take it out because we were constantly often on attack. But we did locate the bunkers. The bunkers are maintained by the local residents as an honor to all of us Americans and those who took part in this. They clean them out. They make sure the flags are in the bunkers are well maintained every year. But the interesting story here was that on another recent trip, there was an individual who was on a bus, and he came up and he said, if you get me to the woods, I will find my bunker. And he came up and said, that one. I lived there off and on for a month. 10 below zero at night, plus getting shot at on occasion. And he had vivid memories of where he spent this portion of his life. Indelible, I'm sure. Moving on again, I'm in Over Saltsburg, which is halfway between Birch's Garden and the Eagle's Nest. And I found this to be very fascinating. There's an underground bunker system that Hitler had built, and I've talked to a couple of you that said that they've been there. I would highly recommend it. Actually, it's more fascinating to me than the Eagle's Nest is. But this bunker system was put in place. It's over 8 miles of interconnecting underground bunkers. Self-sustaining air systems, power, water, everything that Hitler had. And about a mile of it is open now to the public. So I would encourage you, if you've not seen it, if you're ever over there, to go see it. It's certainly fascinating. Here's a soldier that came through May 5th, 1945. But the underground bunker is totally fascinating with all the rooms. There are actually names on some of the higher-ranking people who were, in these rooms. This is an air raid shelter. I thought the whole thing was an air raid shelter, but that's it. Actually, I'm up on top of the Eagle's Nest here, taking this picture with a zoom lens, and this is now a hotel, but this was the site of basically where all of Hitler's home was here, Göring's home was here, SS barracks were here, a lot of high-ranking Nazi people in this area. And it had been on Eisenhower's calendar to do a secret mission. And the mission was twofold. I want half of you, and you was 359 British bombers that Eisenhower ordered. Half of them, I want the Eagle's Nest destroyed. The other half, I want you to destroy all the homes of the Nazi officials and the SS barracks. And there's 359 of you with 5 bombs each. Before he ordered the attack, which was on or about April 24th. So if you can remember, about late April, everything is collapsing in the Nazi regime. Troops are surrendering. We're marching to Berlin everywhere. But he decided to follow through with the mission. However, he made one last statement, Ike did. As the bombers left, he said, I always wanted to get to the Eagle's Nest. Not sure what will happen. I'd really like to go there. He sent the bombers out that night, and the whole hillside here that you see was totally obliterated. The other half of the British bombers, not one bomb touched the Eagle's Nest. So it's left to us to determine what happened. This is only 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles apart from where I'm standing. So I'm trying to figure out how you could miss, but other than if you tried to miss. So the rumor is that they took his hint not to hit it. I don't know. I guess we can all draw our conclusions. We made a stop at Dachau, outside of Munich. Obviously, the concentration camps were, within the liberation, were a mission of ours. And I've been there before, as is all the camps. They're not pleasant, but it's certainly why we fight sometimes to take care of this stuff. Front gate, and what I would mention here is just one thing. I took this picture at the end of the concentration camps. What I'll point out to you is these are like barracks, just the pads that are left here. Obviously, you have a trench and a barbed wire fence. The barbed wire fence was electrified, and a lot of times the inmates who had had enough just ran on the fence intentionally. But what I want to show you is, when I came back, I came across this picture. Now look again from the perspective. That picture was taken by an individual April 29th, 1945. And it's from the same perspective, very close to where I took, except the buildings are there. That picture is taken by a York soldier. I don't know if you know that. I didn't at the time. His name is Harold Campbell. He was a liberator of Dachau. And he took several pictures. I didn't realize when I took a picture that I'd find one then and now, so to speak. But it's interesting to see that perspective. Of course, everything's centered around the ceremonies on June 6th. President Obama and all the dignitaries around the world were here. Obviously, the stage was ours as far as certainly by the time that everybody spent. And I believe, Al, you're in this crowd. But at any rate, it was very well done. There was probably 100,000 people there. I'm zooming in here. I'm not as close as I appear because the government sent me some information to fill out ahead of time before I went over. And they asked you a bunch of questions like, were you there in 44? No. Do you have somebody that's buried there? Do you have any other reason to be there? And I called somebody and I said, does this information matter? Does this make a difference in how close they get to the front? And they said, yeah, it matters in how close to the front you get. And you're not very close. And I wasn't very close. But that's President Obama. He gave a very good 20 to 25-minute speech at the festivities. But picture of the cemetery, and I'll lead into the close here. 70 years ago, the stretch of beach we call Normandy was a killing ground, the site of the greatest military invasion in the history of mankind. The men were larger than life, however the stakes were. The carnage was so great that some of those few men who remain today can still barely, if at all, speak of it, nor in speeches. They were the tip of the Allied spear to take on a madman named Hitler, who had a plan to exterminate certain races, to rule the West, or maybe even the world. This battle was all in. It was a game changer. It was epic. Remember these two statements. People cannot live in freedom unless free people are willing to fight and sometimes die for it. Because of our veterans, the United States is the greatest voice for freedom the world has ever known. If you have not already done so, thank a veteran this week. Better yet, thank a World War II veteran while you can. If you can't find one, let me tell you about a few who are here today. Al Rose, as I've mentioned, United States Army, 1943 to 1945. Landed at Utah Beach, as I mentioned, on 6 June 1944. Was invited back to Normandy this year, special invitation by the French government. Received numerous awards for his participation. 6 children, 7 grandchildren, 3 great-grandchildren. Dr. Luther Sowers, United States Navy, 1943, 1946, European Theater. Actually was in the English Channel a couple weeks after D-Day, resupplying other ships and men for the invasion. Came home, 38 years of public education. Married 64 years. 3 children, 2 grandchildren, 4 great-grandchildren. Henry Kirkpatrick, United States Army, 1943 to 1945, European theater. Actually stepped off a landing craft in waist-deep water on Omaha Beach a couple weeks after the invasion. Came back and eventually became a well-known businessman in the financial services industry. Married 65 years. 2 children, 4 grandchildren. Outstanding Rotarian for 50+ years. Art Kelly, United States Army, 1942 to 1946. Pacific Theater, won the South Pacific Liberation Battle. Public education, 36 years. Married, 66 years. 2 children, 1 grandchild, 1 great-grandchild. Also outstanding Rotarian. And a guest today, Bill Gauntlet. Bill's over here somewhere. U.S. Army, 1943, 1946. Landed, Omaha Beach, 6 June, 1944. Didn't make it because his craft was hit. Returned to the fight, though, later on. Married, 67 years, 3 children. I'll close by saying, veterans, especially, the world is a better place because of you. But it's